What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. My name is Sean Sheehan, and today I am looking back at 2023 for one championship. I'm doing a litany of reviews at this time of the year for the big MMA promotions, PFL, UFC, Bellator, One Championship, Cage Warriors. I think I'm throwing in PFL Europe in there as well because it was a very interesting year for PFL Europe. And I'll tell you, I'll break the third wall a little bit, or the fourth wall a little bit here. I'm not sure which number this will be out, but this is my third one of recording. And I was just thinking about this before I started. I was like, all of these I did them last year and doing them this year. I like to give a kind of a recap of the year to start off. And I think the hardest one to give a recap of the year for is One Championship, because I went through all the events and I took down notes on how many events there were and other things, and there were 55 One Championship events this year. And I'm not going to go through all of those events. I will go through all the, or at least some of the Prime Video cards. And we started off with Prime Video 6, and we ended with Prime Video 17. So is that 11 or 12? 12, I believe. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. And that's a lot. That is a lot. Now, that is not a negative for me necessarily. My initial thought, if you were to ask me in one word, how have you enjoyed covering One Championship? Has this been a good year for One Championship? What would be the one word you describe? I would describe it as very good. That's 2 words. Good, great. You know, I've really enjoyed covering One Championship this year. You know, sometimes, and for me, with the UFC has probably been the easiest one to describe this year. It's been a boring year and a treacherous year to cover the UFC. But I've really enjoyed covering the chasing pack, right? The One Championship cards, the PFL cards, but One Championship especially, I think this is the Sheehan Show. This is my opinion. This is not necessarily the opinion of everyone or like a dissertation on the facts and figures about it. Because I've seen a lot of people talking about one recently and saying, they've kind of gotten away from MMA and they're going to get back to MMA, which we'll talk about towards the end. And a lot of people have been happy that they're kind of getting back to mixed martial arts and having more mixed martial arts next year, which, do you know what? I am too, but I don't think, like, if I hadn't heard people saying that, right? If I hadn't heard people saying they had forgotten about MMA this year, I don't think it's a point I would have made at all. I would have made the point that there's been lots of Muay Thai and lots of kickboxing and lots of grappling, but and it's a weird way of saying it, but I don't think I would have made the opposite point, because I get a lot of MMA. You know, I watch all the UFCs, watch all the PFLs, watch all the Cage Warriors, watch all of everything. And to have something a little bit different, I said this multiple times throughout the year, to have something a little bit different has really been a joy for me. This is the Sheehan Show. This is Sean Sheehan talking. And I thank One Championship for doing that. Now, the last card, and we'll go through the cards. The last card had no MMA, right? I don't want that. I want the majority of these prime cards anyway. I know that the Fight Night cards are mostly kickboxing, Muay Thai and things. Muay Thai, no problem. Perfect. Have all Muay Thai on that even. I want at least half of the fights to be MMA. That's my wish. That is my wish. That's what I think they should do. If they have 12 fights, let's give us 6 to 7 of them at least mixed martial arts. And throw in a few Muay Thai fights, throw in a few, grappling matches, kickboxing matches, whatever you want to do. And I actually like that. And I've grown to I'm just looking at the first card here, someone like a Superbon or someone like Eersel. I've really grown to enjoy watching these guys fight, and I personally have not been affected negatively by there being less mixed martial arts at One Championship this year. When I look at it in the cold light of day and people have made the point, I can say, okay, fair enough. maybe there has been, and maybe say someone like Grigorian not fighting, and a few of the, I think there's a couple of champions who haven't fought, is not good, and they should be fighting more, and there should be more championship fights and more big fights in mixed martial arts. Absolutely. And if they don't do that next year, I think it'll become more of a problem. But for me this year, it hasn't been a noticeable problem. We will talk about the future more towards the end of this. I want to go through a lot of the cards. I want to go through a lot of the results, and I also want to name my one championship fighter of the year. This one is tough, honestly, and I'll tell you what, I'm undecided as we sit here right now. For a couple of the other ones, I think it was pretty obvious who my choice was going to be. There was a few contenders for all the promotions, but for one championship, I think I know who it's going to be, but I'm not sure yet. But we will go through some of these cards inside. Before I do that, though, I'm looking at the one championship website at the moment, and I just want to touch on, for historical sake, who are the champions right now. So you might be watching this video back in 2 or 3 years' time thinking, what was one championship like in 2023? Maybe it changed an awful lot in 2024, whatever. This is what we have right now, 2023, the champions. And I'm going to name all of them, right? It'll only take a few seconds. Let's do it. MMA, Muay Thai, kickboxing, everyone they have here. I'm only going to talk about MMA then after that, for the most part. So the light heavyweight and heavyweight champion right now is Anatoly Malikhin, whose name I always pronounce terribly. The light heavyweight and heavyweight kickboxing champion is Roman Krylia. The middleweight champion in MMA is Renier de Ridder. The lightweight and welterweight MMA champion is Christian Lee. The welterweight submission grappling champion is Tai Riatolo. His brother Cade Riatolo is the lightweight submission grappling champion. The Muay Thai and kickboxing champion of the lightweight divisions is Regan Eersel. No, did I make a mistake with Krylia? Krylia is the kickboxing light heavyweight champion and the Muay Thai heavyweight champion. At featherweight, Tang Kai is the champion, and we have an interim champion of Tan Lee. Sanchai is the Muay Thai featherweight champion. Allazov is the kickboxing featherweight champion, and the bantamweight champion in MMA is Andrade. The bantamweight champion in kickboxing and the Muay Thai bantamweight champion is Jonathan Haggerty. In flyweight, we have Demetrius Mount Johnson as the champion. While in Muay Thai, we have Rodtang as the flyweight champion. In kickboxing, we have Superlek, the kicking machine, as the champion. Then Mikey Musumeci in submission grappling, flyweight. For strawweight, we have champions in Jared Brooks in MMA, and in Muay Thai we have Joseph Lasiri and PK Sanchai. Strawweight kickboxing, we're early there. Jonathan DeBella. Strawweight MMA, we have Jing Jianan. Strawweight for the women. For the strawweight Muay Thai, we have the Hurricane Sundell. We have Sam Fairtex at atomweight MMA. At atomweight Muay Thai, we have Helena Rodriguez. Atomweight kickboxing, JT Todd, Janet Todd, and atomweight submission grappling, Danielle Kelly. So one championship have a lot of champions right now. They have a lot of champions, a lot of those 30 pounds of gold belts, and that is good. Right? That is good, because all of these cards all have champions on them. All the ones going forward can all have champions on them. And if we are to get the mixed martial arts champions more active, and we'll go through some of them here in the end as well, it's very good, because you have other champions from other disciplines who can be on those cards as well, and get the rub from a lot of the MMA people. And when you put MMA people in and watch this, like myself, they become fans of it. Right, so let's look through some of the cards here. They started off, and I'm going to go to the Prime Video cards here. They started off on the 13th of January, and I am on the Sherdog pages here, so I have the MMA fights, right? And if, there may be someone doing the Muay Thai fights or something out there, otherwise, but I'm going to do MMA for today. We had on that card, Alan Nassang against Galvao, a really good win for Alan Nassang. Gary Tonin also got back to winning ways there, with Shoka Sato also winning on that card. Then we have the 7th card, which was a fight, I think, between Fabricio Andrade and John Lineker that a lot of people tuned into. It's on Amazon in the US and in Canada. It was in the Lumpini Boxing Stadium. It's an exciting, cool fight between two guys who I think obviously John Lineker everyone knows. If you're, and I'm talking here, I'm talking from the point of view, my point of view, and the point of view of like the European, maybe and American fans. Now maybe a little bit different in Asia and other places as well, but that's the point of view I'm talking for. I think when you have John Lineker at top of card, when you know Fabricio Andrade as well, when you've heard of him at least, I think it gives it gives something a little bit extra. You know, they had fought in October the year before. It was the accidental groin strike, and then they're coming back in and they're fighting here again. You know, John Lineker has been in one championship for a few years now, and this is the big one for him. I want for one championship, you know, I think they had a year the year before and then somewhat into this year as well, where some of those people who maybe they would have wanted to have won fights didn't win them. Now that did change a little bit, I think, with Demetrius and or others. But even think the last few years, and this is meritocracy. This is not a criticism or anything like that. It's maybe the opposite of a criticism. Actually, maybe it's a compliment that the likes of Solic, the likes of John Lineker, the likes of Demetrius Johnson, the likes of Eddie Alvarez back in the day, were all given tough enough matchups that they could lose. But also unfortunate because maybe they can't grow like that, maybe like they'd want to. But very good fight. Andrade won that one, and elsewhere on that card, Matt Nguyen got a decision. There was a few decisions on that card, not a massive standout card apart from the main event. A really good fight then on the One Championship 8 card in Singapore on March 24th. Itsuki Hirata fought Sohee Ham. You know, Sohee Ham came over. Obviously, she was in the UFC and elsewhere, and she brought, I think, a very good level to One Championship. You know, she is someone who's been in there with some very, very, very good fighters down through the years. You know, as I said, in the UFC, with the likes of, you know, people like, you know, Courtney Casey, Joanne Wood, who were probably ranked at the time, and Beck Rollins and Danielle Taylor. You know, even since that, Denise Mwanga in One Championship, Mia Yamamoto in Risen. So she's been in there with a very good level of fighters. And I think signing a fighter like that, when you have the likes of Stamp, when you have the likes of Hirata, even, you know, changing weight classes with Jinan Zhang, I think it's very important to have that. And the fact she came in, got a win there, I think was good for One Championship as well, as we'll see later on in the year. One on Prime 9 then. This was a card with some very good MMA fights. I remember previewing this and thinking, we had Mangbo on this card, she got a good win. We had Denise Mwanga on this card, she got a good win. And women's MMA in One Championship, I think, you know, people talked about the men's MMA side of it. I think the women's MMA side of it has really thrived and become really good. And you could argue their biggest star, Tam Fairtex, is a woman, and their last biggest star before that, Angela Lee. Unfortunately, you know, we know what happened with Angela Lee's sister. Now she's retired as well. She was arguably the biggest star before that. So I think the fact of having the likes of Mingbo, Sohee Ham, Denise Mwanga, who are there to put up challenges to the likes of him, I think that's really, really good. I think it's really, really good. Elsewhere on this card, Izzy Fikateo got a win in the middleweight division, and Helena Mir beat Moraes Abedi. I suppose a few of those cards and a few after them as well, there was a tendency, and when you look back at it, it's more so than when you're watching it at the time. There was the headliner as a Muay Thai fight, a kickboxing fight, and sometimes you look at those cards in retrospect and think, okay, maybe we could have gotten another name in mixed martial arts. And, you know, maybe I didn't do that enough. And going forward, I really do think that's something they need to do. But that's exactly what they did on One on Prime 10. You know, this was the card of the year, I think, without a shadow of a doubt, for One Championship. One of the biggest they put on. I think I interviewed Chattery before this, and he was kind of saying that, I kind of said to him, is this the biggest card you've ever done? And he was talking about 1X and other things as well, which were, I think 1X was probably it, but this was a massive, important card for One Championship. I think it really, really, really was, because you had the stars that you had a lot of the stars that One Championship needs to flourish, I think, on this card. And a lot, if not all, well, not all, but a lot of the results went their way. None more so than Demetrius Johnson beating Andrade and Moraes. Like, when you sign Demetrius Johnson and you're one championship and you talk about martial arts, you are the leader in martial arts, not mixed martial arts, but martial arts. Demetrius Johnson, I don't think anyone would disagree, has been one of the best martial artists in the world over the last few years. A brilliant fighter. Maybe he doesn't have the selling power, maybe he doesn't have the drawing power, maybe he isn't selling pay-per-views, but if you're talking about high quality as a fighter, if you're talking about a great martial artist, a promotion like One Championship wants to be headed by a guy like Demetrius Johnson. And the fact that he had lost to Adriano Moraes was not good for them. Look, results are results, and that's MMA. MMA is MMA. But when he got back, and when he beat Adriano Moraes, and it was, great a comeback in terms of Demetrius is old enough now, and as a smaller guy with speed and everything, and plus, we know what the One Championship's weight cutting, so it's more like 135 than 125, and Demetrius never, he struggled at 135 at the top level always throughout his career, although he won like 13, 14 fights at 135, which people seem to remember. So for him to do that, just in my mind, look, Demetrius Johnson, I have a picture of him up there in front of me behind the camera. He's the greatest of all time for me. And for One Championship to get an ember of the last part of his career was massive for them. I really, really do think it was massive for them. And that was one of the highlights of the year. No doubt about it at all. Like, hopefully Demetrius will be back. I'd love to see him fight again. I still think there's a bit little left in the tank. But the other things I had on this card as well, apart from, very good prospect like Rick Young beating another good prospect in Lowen Tynanis with a great nickname, Tyrannosaurus Rex. They had Anna Nasang winning here, but also 3 other massive fights. First of all, Sage Northcutt. Like, Sage, a known entity from the UFC, a character, every MMA fan, even if you're a lapsed fan, you know who Sage Northcutt is, right? And they had him here, and he won in 39 seconds against Ahmed Mushtaba, who's a good fighter. Big for them. Stamp Fairtex won. Big for them. She is a star. She does the dance. She has the charisma of Shawn Michaels. She's on it. Her winning for One Championship is massive. And then they had Roberto Soldic and Kadesam, which maybe didn't go the way they would have wanted it. Paid big money to get Soldic. We had the incident with the low blow and stuff before that. And then he lost to Kadesam, but the story going forward, maybe how he's going to work his way back up. But I think also though, to show that you have someone like Kadesam on your ranks who's good enough to beat Roberto Soldic, who people were talking about as one of the best welterweights, middleweights in the world, I think that's big. So, a negative maybe overall, but a positive in a few ways for them. We'll move on to the next card. Some of their top talent on this, not a whole lot again of MMA fights on it. Ilya Freymanov got a win here on this against Shinny. Mansour Menshikov beat Jeremy Miado in the flyweight division to possibly earn himself a title shot. I think we'll still see on that. And it was a very good win for Kongwon Il as well, who's one of their top featherweights coming through. Gary Tonin then popped back to MMA and beat Shamil Gasanov. I thought this was going to be a tough one, honestly, for Gary Tonin, but he bounced back and won. And again, one of their stars, the American jiu-jitsu guy who a lot of people, I suppose, put pressure maybe is the wrong word, but a lot of people expect an awful lot from a guy like Gary Tonin, and when he got knocked out the way he did against, it was Tan Lee, wasn't it? Yeah. It's not always easy to come back from that, but he did, and he came back and he got the submission in this fight. The heavyweight division and the 135-pound division, I think, are always interesting ones in One Championship as well. Amir Ali Akbari got a win over Dustin Johnson here, and Yuya Wakamatsu came back and beat Ouija in this card as well. We move on to the next card, and the comeback of John Lineker in a fight against Jaewon Kim, who, we're in August at this stage now in the cards already, so the prime cards are moving quick. that was a fight as well for John Lineker that was big. I thought, like, that's a fight that John Lineker, doesn't win all the time. I think that was a tough fight, but the way he came back as well in that fight, the end of the third round, he could have been losing that fight. There's no shadow of doubt about that. And he gets the win with 4 seconds left in the third round. Absolutely massive for John Lineker and for one championship as well. The one championship fight of the year was also on this card. Rug against Buchecha. I loved this fight so much. Like, some people call it fight of the year, some people call it worst fight of the year. I'm definitely on fight of the year. The fight of the year side of it, I love this so much. It had everything you wanted in maniac, mad MMA, mad heavyweight MMA. People almost getting submitted, people standing up, people getting tired, people throwing it all in there, getting hurt and coming back. Love this fight so much. I'd love to see a rematch, but Rugro got the win and he moved forward in that heavyweight division. The next card again was a massive card for one championship in September, one on Prime 14, because you had two of the biggest stars again on it, Stamp and John Lineker, and both of them got wins. For Stamp to get the win here, win the title against Sohyam, who I mentioned earlier on, and the point I made about Sohyam, that she gives gravitas to it, the fact that she has been there in the UFC, she has beaten some very good people, she's been around for a long time, 26 wins in her career against 9 losses, that's a very good record. And Stamp, who, came in as a Muay Thai practitioner, the bit of kickboxing and all of that as well, or they call her 3-sport champion. The fact that 13 fights into her career, she's now looking like, she looks like a superstar when she walks to the cage and outside of the cage, and all of that indicates she always looked very good, but now she looks like a superstar in the cage as well. This was a phenomenal win. She got to finish in the third round, and I'm just gonna say it right now, Sam Fairtex is my one championship fighter of the year. She was fantastic in this fight. She's been, as I said, fantastic inside and outside of the cage, and I think she is a star going forward. From she is someone that when you're thinking about your big cards, the ones, on whatever weekend you pick out, where you're going to have John Lineker, you're going to have maybe Demetrius, you maybe have Soldic coming back, maybe you have a new signing or something like that, she's the one that should be on that card. At the top of it, co-main event, whatever it might be, she should be the one that you get the most eyes in front of, and she earned that this year. Really good. John Lineker won in this. Edward Feuerlein came back with a great win. Mauro Sorelli in the heavyweight division, and again, Maurice Abedi, who had a great year for one championship, got a win on this card too. Tanya and Ilya Freymanov, maybe the most high-level fight of the year coming into it, in my opinion, but it was over very quickly. Tan Lee got the heel hook. A great win for him over Freymanov. We talked about Mansour Makhachev in the flyweight division before against Joshua Pasio. And Pasio got the win here. And I thought it would be the other way around. So there was a few shocks on this one. Liping Zhang got over Timothy Nasyukin as well. And Echo Ronnie lost to Yang Hu. So a lot of the underdogs, I think, got through on that card. The 116 card was not a massive amount of mixed martial arts. Very good win for Bin Tynan, who I think is a good prospect. I like his opponent Ji Won Kang, who's a really good kickboxer, and I thought he'd win that one, but he didn't. Halil Amir got another win there. Big upset as well, Aya Miura against Meng Bo. I thought Meng would win that one, but she didn't. And the rematch, Lita Adewang beat Jeremy Miado there as well. The Kriya fight was the last fight of the year then on December 8th, and that had no mixed martial arts on it. So that was, all Muay Thai, and I think that was a mistake. I think they should have had at least a few mixed martial arts fights on it. Right, so those are all the prime cards from this year. There's only one card on the fight nights that had a World Championship fight, and that was Anatoly Malyakin against Arjun Singh Butler on One Fight Nights 22 back in June, who fought for the heavyweight title. It was a heavyweight title, indeed it was. So and that was a big win for him. It was his only fight and his only win, obviously, of this year. Now, some of these, I'm going to go through a few of the champions here before we go any further. some of these had grappling matches, Muay Thai and stuff like that, but just in mixed martial arts itself. So Malyakin, 1 fight and 1 win this year. Jared Brooks in mixed martial arts, no fights this year. Demetrius Johnson, 1 fight and 1 win over Adriano Moraes. Wonderboy, Fabricio Andrade, he fought once against John Lineker. I know he fought in kickboxing as well, and he beat John Lineker. Then a few of the others with champions as well. But John Lineker himself, first of all, he fought 3 times this year. Went 2-1, beat Steve Loman, which you mentioned earlier, and Kim as well, but lost to Fabricio Andrade. Christian Lee didn't fight this year. Obviously, the circumstances around the death of his sister were a big part of that, but it looks like he is coming back. Tan Lee fought once this year as the interim champion. He beat Ilya Freymanov to win that in October. Tang Kaiden didn't fight this year. Stamp fought twice in MMA this year against Elise Anderson and Soyam. I believe she had a kickboxing match as well. And then Jinan Zhang didn't fight in MMA this year. I believe she had a custom rules match as well. So a pretty inactive year for the champions. And if we're to look ahead to next year, that would be, I suppose, the big wish of it. We've talked about it already, and I won't repeat it, but about more MMA fights, but more championship MMA fights are what are needed. There is, I'm just looking at here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I believe, champions I just read out, plus John Lineker. If you're having 12 cards next year, your aim should definitely be to get at least 1 championship MMA fight on all of them, if not 2. You know, so 2, that's 24 championship MMA fights. You have 9 champions. You know, it'll be a stretch. It'll definitely be a stretch, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility, you know, to actually do that. So that's a big thing I would look forward to. Another thing for one championship. So one championship putting on an awful lot of cards now. They're, you know, putting out an awful lot of money. There was talks of, you know, Chashi was speaking recently about further investment and the next round of investment and getting to a profit. Plus, there's another couple of things I want to talk about as well. I think that is tantamount to the future success of one championship. I think for a lot of people out there, a lot of people kind of like saying, oh yeah, best of luck or whatever. I think a lot of people have the wrong attitude towards that. They should be hoping. Just like Bellator, a lot of, you know, there's a lot of negativity around Bellator. Oh, it'll go away, Grant. I really wanted Bellator to stay. Anyway, you know, it kind of has half stayed. You should want Bellator, PFL, Cage Warriors, UFC, all of these to succeed. It's better for us. It's better for the fighters. Look, there can be a lot of mixed martial arts, a lot of martial arts, but there's a better off having a lot of martial arts than having no martial arts, or less martial arts and less places for people to fight in. So for one championship, I hope the future is bright, and I hope they can keep going on the way they were with even improvements. Now, there are some the signs of not as many MMA fights, you couldn't call that a good sign. They've said they're going to change that. If they do, that will be a good sign, right? If they don't, probably not. But the other 2 good signs, I think, they have signed on again with Amazon. We talked about that before, and the people in America would know more about that than me, but the last thing I want to talk about, from my area, they signed with Sky Sports. And I think this is absolutely massive for them. And if people don't understand, right, if you're an American tuning in here and maybe you're thinking, is Sky Sports a real big deal? You know, we've seen BT Sports and other places before. You know, I signed with the UFC, and, you know, PFL are on places, you know, and other promotions have been on Channel 4 and things like that, right? This is an absolute game changer. An absolute game changer. Now, it's a game changer if it's pushed and if everything I'm about to say actually happens, right? If they push this the way they push a lot of their sports, it could really garner a serious amount of fans for one championship. And even if it does, it will do that, right? And even if it doesn't, it will make one championship a household name in the UK and Ireland for sports fans. No shadow or doubt about that. That's how big Sky Sports is. If you sign with BT Sports, TNT Sports now, it doesn't do that. You don't do that. You know, they have some great things. They have the Champions League. They have some Premier League football. You know, I might say UFC Fight Night. You know, UFC 296 coming up this weekend on, you know, in the middle of the Man United game, and people will hear about it and all, right? that's great and that will help, but it's not a massive game changer. There's a fight night this weekend, great. What Sky have is something very different. They'll have also that, so they have the Premier League and most of the Premier League matches. So I'm sure if there's a big one championship fight, Jonathan Haggerty is this weekend, this English guy, he's fighting here, the greatest of all time, Demetrius Johnson is fighting tonight. They'll have that like they would have in TNT Sports. What they also have is Sky Sports News. And if you're unfamiliar with Sky Sports News, what it is a 24-hour sports news channel. And it's one of those channels, and I know in America they have is it Sports Center, that comes on maybe at 10, and there probably is 24-hour sports news channels as well in America, I assume. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's maybe an ESPN News or something like that. But Sky Sports News I think is a little bit different. Like, we don't have as many channels here. When Sky Sports News started, it was something a little bit different. Some sports fans would have wanted all the time. And it's something that to this day is a daily watch for people. So I'll give you an example. It's been a few weeks now, as you can see, but my hairdressers, I go in there, there's small hairdressers, 2 lads inside there, they have one TV up there. What do you watch when you're having your haircut? Sky Sports News. You go to a local shopping centre here, you grab a cup of tea, you sit down in like the middle area. What's on the TV? Sky Sports News. You're waiting for the UFC to start. You're waiting for one championship to start. It's 20 to 10. It's coming on at 10 o'clock. What do you do? What is it now? 411, 419 or whatever it is. Put it in, watch Sky Sports News for 20 minutes. That's what Sky Sports News is. It's a daily watch. A lot of lads, you get up in the morning, okay, I have half an hour before I go to work, put on Sky Sports News, see who Man United are after buying, see who, the reaction of Liverpool after losing or whatever it might be. And they have done wonders for certain sports like Formula One, boxing with Anthony Joshua, Ricky Hatton and people like that down through the years. They've even, like, there was this sport, kabaddi. I don't know if people know it. They were talking about it all the time and I watched a bit of it. I kind of got into it for a while. That's what can happen with sports that are on Sky Sports News. And now one championship is on Sky Sports News. And Sky Sports News is one as well who is biased, right? They will not mention the UFC, Bellator, PFL, unless, maybe if Leon Edwards wins the title or something like that. That's it, right? That's it. Never other than that. But because they have one championship now, one championship will be a weekly, if not daily occurrence. They will mention it. They will push it. You will see Demetrius Johnson on their screens. You will see Stamp. You will see the English people. I would be very surprised if one championship didn't do an event in the UK, didn't sign UK fighters, Irish fighters, in Ireland as well as the UK. This happens. This is a massive deal for one championship. And I think they should push it and really push this market as well. Because PFL Europe, Cage Warriors, KSW, all the people who have a footprint in this market do not have Sky Sports. Now they have it. That's massive for them. So looking forward to next year, that is definitely something to keep an eye on for one championship. And do you know one other thing before I go and before I leave you? One thing one championship have as well that most of the other places do not have is this. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight nights already announced. 7. I think Cage Warriors just announced there last week, maybe 4 or 5, so they're good as well. PFL, none. The UFC have a few, obviously. KSW have 1 or 2. I like the fact that one championship have laid out their stall. Now, there's going to be obviously more events added and bits and pieces, but they have a lot of events there. Like, they have fight nights 45, 46. They have 165. They have 1 on Prime 19, 20, 166. Easy for me to say. Love that. Absolutely love that. And we have something to look forward to. We have places in the calendar for one going forward, and that is absolutely brilliant. So overall, I give one an A+ for the year. I really enjoyed it. A big year coming up next year. My fighter of the year, Sam Fairtex, and I'm looking forward to getting charged for another year of one championship. All right, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.